Hello and welcome to Gaming Game. My name is Muzz and welcome to my impressions review of Dead Space, the remake of Dead Space, one of my all-time favourite video games. It has made it onto the acclaimed video game index that you see in the background there, which we will get back to someday. But I was skeptical, to say the least, and I'm also a bit late to the party, as it was released last year. But as we know, I always save my horror games for the month of October, and this month it just so aligned that Dead Space came out on PlayStation Plus, so I was like, yep, this is the one I am going to go for. And I'm about 5 or 6 chapters in at the minute, and I am enjoying it. I was going to say I'm loving it, but I am enjoying it. It is fantastic what they've done in some areas. In other areas, I don't know, like, it's hard to replace such a game. Like, not replace, but remake. Like, the challenge of recreating a game is, like, I can't imagine trying to follow in those footsteps that were set. They were so massive. And I believe EA Motive, who developed this one, have done a good job so far. I'll hit the positives. I think the sound design, the lighting is unreal, unbelievable. I am wearing the PlayStation 3 audio, 3D audio, and you just hear every little scratch and scream and like far out, and like it just adds so much to the immersion, the fear, the suspense. They have absolutely nailed that, as well as the lighting. Like, this is a dark Dead Space. The original Dead Space was a dark game, but I feel like they've turned it down. They've turned down the brightness in significant areas in this, and you really uh, feel like you have nowhere to go because you can't see, you're trapped. All you have to see is your flashlight that you doesn't cover a large area, and that going on with the kind of the lighting and the sound working together really creates some tense moments and really creates some good scares. Um, Another aspect of the remake that I'm unsure about yet is the kind of way they've redone some of the key moments. They they have redone the turret section, the asteroid section, which is fantastic because I remember getting to that point in the original Dead Space and I died like 5 or 6 times and I was like, what is the point? This is such a out of left field moment. So I'm glad they've replaced that. They've made it something that's in my mind's better. But yeah, there's I like it going back. I like it because I'm going back through it and I am not knowing what's coming up. Like, I know roughly what's coming up, but I don't know exactly. And I like that aspect of playing it as a remake because I think the way they have taken it, all the loading screens, is something that has to be heralded as something that is really good. Is very again, it draws you into the immersion. There's no loading screens unless you go to a save point, like you're. Whereas the original Dead Space, you were using the tram to kind of get from chapter to chapter. You just kind of stumble into a room and you're on the next chapter. You're like, oh, that's quite seamless. The areas that I'm kind of struggling with, um, the number one I think is the weapon. Like, the plasma cutter is such an iconic weapon in my mind. Like, the first time I played Dead Space, I bought the rest of the weapons, realised that they sucked compared to the plasma cutter. So on subsequent playthroughs, I would just main the plasma cutter, and by the end of the game, it becomes an absolute weapon of mass destruction. Like, you can clear rooms with that weapon and not even break a sweat. So I can't see why they've made it that you, like, basically the way you got weapons in the original was you would go to a store and you would buy them. Now you're finding them more organically in the world. I like that aspect of it. What I don't like is that I now feel like I'm being forced to use them, because they're giving me ammo for all the other ones. And this is probably just my nostalgia and my bias, but I feel like the plasma cutter I only have limited ammo, whereas the pulse rifle I have hundreds, and I actually like the touch up to the pulse rifle. It feels a bit beefier. The impact and the sound of it sounds a bit more like, oh, okay, that can do some damage, but still, it doesn't actually feel that. You feel like you're pumping so much lead into them and they're not actually dying, which is quite frustrating. So I'm kind of humming and hawing about whether I like that. Another aspect that's kind of like, I know there is no Dead Space, the zero gravity were always a bit of a conscientious issue. I can see why they've changed it, but it's still a bit clunky in my mind, like the floating around and the actual, yeah, flying about. It can feel a bit clunky sometimes, and like when you're fighting enemies that kind of dive towards you, you struggle to, well, you still struggle to get out of the way. You still struggle to get out of the way. Moving back to the positives, because it's early days in the game, I think, but the atmosphere's still there. The story is being reworked slightly. I say slightly. Isaac has a voice; he can speak for himself, which I do. I like that aspect of it, because those kind of voiceless characters are of a bygone era. I like that Isaac has a say in what's going on in the story. I like that he can challenge the characters and be like, nah, I'm the engineer here, this is what we're doing. I think the voice actor does a really, really good job, because he is the original voice actor from Dead Space 2 and 3. And the story, I'm liking the way it's kind of interworked. And I'm liking the way, as the more I talk about this, I actually am going to say I am on the verge of loving this game, loving this remake. Like Nicole in the, oh, I should have said spoilers, by the way, spoilers. Nicole in the first game was a key part of it for like the first, like, kind of the first minutes, and then you don't really get that payoff towards the end where you find out what's happened to her. Whereas this, she's a lot more interwoven into the story. Like there's side missions to go and find out more about her and Isaac's relationship, which I think is really key, and just the whole church that's going on. I do feel like they're fleshing out the story a lot more, and well, I think Dead Space 1 like done a fantastic job at Dead Space, the original Dead Space, done a fantastic job of, you know, giving us a really good story. I think they are taking up a notch in terms of the storytelling and what we kind of are looking for from a more modern game. Yeah, it's a good game. Like I'm gonna, once I'm done recording this, go back and play some more. But the combat is still like so intense at moments where you're battling different necromorphs, and they have varied up the scenarios as well. Like I walked into a room and I was like, oh, I know this room, I know what happened, and then I didn't know what happened. I was like, oh crap, this has went completely sideways. And I feel like they've done a good job with the monster spawns as well. Like a lot more of them are coming from behind. You need to have your wits about you. That's where the 3D audio really comes in handy, because you're hearing something behind you, you turn around, then you've got another one on your right side. It's great. It really adds to, as I say, the tension, the atmosphere. Like it's just Dead Space. It's such a good game. If you've not played Dead Space, play the remake. I would play the original, but you won't be able to get it. So play the remake. It's just an unbelievable game, in my opinion. And who knows? Maybe I'll look back at Dead Space and put Dead Space remake onto the video game index. But who knows? Who knows? This is just a kind of little introduction. I say a little introduction. This is my impressions of the remake. And right now, I am on the verge of loving it. Not quite loving it yet. There is some things that are hold me back from loving it. But what they have done to take on such a project and deliver a game that is reworked in certain ways, but still feels the same. Like the heavy footsteps of Isaac are so iconic. The plasma cutter, although I don't get to use it as much, is just such a iconic weapon. It is such a fantastic weapon to use. The rotating, the way it rotates, just it's seamless. I love it. I love. Sometimes I'll just go through and I'll flick that back and forth. Just 'cause I love the little animation. Anyway, that is my impressions of Dead Space, the remake. So let me know your thoughts of it. Have you played it? Do you want to play it after watching this? Have I sold you on it? I hope you. I hope I have, because yeah, Dead Space is a fantastic game, and let's hope they actually remake the second one, and then scrap the third one and make a new third one, because the third one I never played out of spite. Yeah, that was the first time I was like, no, I'm not playing a game because they have completely ruined this franchise. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Yeah, if you liked this video, then leave a comment below. Nope, that's not what I say. Like the video, share it with your friends. Subscribe if you're new. That's what we're here to try and get some new people watching my lovely content. Hopefully, it's lovely. Need to stop saying M. That's something I really need to focus on. Need to gather my thoughts without saying M. Anyway, any thoughts, comments, general hostile remarks, leave them below. Thank you very much. Bye bye.